Afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. My name is Luke O'Connor, and I'm the Industry Relations and Partnerships Manager for Support Act based in Melbourne, Victoria. Before I go any further, in the spirit of reconciliation and on behalf of the board and all staff members, Support Act acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people who are joining us today. So welcome to On My Mind and our very first instalment, Don't Believe Everything You Think. Support Act is committed to improving the mental health and wellbeing of the music and arts industries, and we're very excited that you could join us today. We would also like to acknowledge the support of the Australian Government through the Office for the Arts and everyone who has donated to us over the years to support us as an organisation. Well, the bonus today, if you're like me, south of the border, is this can be added to your list of activities whilst in lockdown. But of course, we're here to learn, perhaps to share and reflect on how we all can better look after our own mental health and that of others in our community. Before I introduce Ash properly and get started, the COVID-19 pandemic has created intense financial hardship for artists, crew and music workers throughout the country. Many of you were the first to lose your jobs and your income, and our sector could well be the last to recover, which is a grim thought. So with funding support from the Australian Government through the Office for the Arts, Support Act has expanded its services to offer crisis relief to music industry professionals impacted by COVID-19. Love for you to check out our website to find out more information about eligibility and to make an application. Lastly, the Support Act Wellbeing Helpline is a 24/7 service available to the Australian arts sector, and it's a free confidential service that's available to anyone working in Australian musical arts who needs to talk to someone about any aspect of their well-being. You can call that service and talk to a professional on 1-800-959-500, and I encourage you to do so. So on to today's workshop. I would love to introduce you to Ash King, a good friend of mine, provisional psychologist, psych researcher, and former full-time musician, and I guess sometimes part-time musician now. Ash is a member of the team at the Indigo Project, a psychology practice that thinks creatively about mental health. And she's also a regular guest on Support Act's web series, Soundcheck. Thanks for joining us, Ash, and over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Luke. And thanks everyone for joining us today. I'm super grateful that you've all lent a bit of your time to have a little listen and just sort of give something back to yourself, I guess, because we don't really, if you're not me, spend a lot of time sitting down thinking about mental health. But for the next hour or so, we'll give you the opportunity to sort of hopefully maybe hear some new things, maybe hear some things you've heard before explored in new ways, and feel free to ask some questions and even do some of the tips and tools, and I'll help you work through them. So let me just share my screen so we can kick things off. Alrighty. Cooking with gas. So this is our very first On My Mind workshop. It will be one of a series of workshops that we'll be running throughout the year. And the focus of today's is we're going to look at the mind, thinking, and mindset. These are huge aspects of our mental well-being, and so we're going to develop hopefully a little bit of a better understanding by the end of the hour today. So this is me. I am a psychology researcher with the University of Sydney and a provisional psych and content manager with the Indigo Project, as Luke so lovingly described. I'm also a millennial, so we found that our psychologies are often impacted by which generation we come from. And I'm a former full-time musician too. So I haven't been working in the industry for maybe around the last 3 years. I had to step back from it due to an injury. So that was really a really tough time for me, having to sort of let go of a lot of the amazing connections, a lot of the amazing work that I got to do. So for all of you who, feeling really disconnected from the industry now, thanks to the COVID crisis, I'm definitely feeling you, and I can understand how it must be really hard and challenging. Another thing that I can appreciate when I was working in the music industry full time is that I think it was perhaps the most challenging time for me for my mental health. There's so much about living that kind of a life that can do a number on your relationship with yourself and how you think about yourself and how you think about the world. It's a lot about being seen. It's a lot about thinking what other people are going to be thinking of you. It's a lot of late nights, disrupted schedules, and sort of different and challenging social scenarios too. So I think that it's amazing that Support Act is offering all these amazing resources for you guys, and I wish that I got on board with all that when I was in the thick of things. So thanks so much for joining and being here today, and hopefully you can pick up some little nuggets of wisdom. I'm also a chronic overthinker, so this is a particularly sexy episode for me today. A lot of the work that I've done on my own mental health has been using a lot of these tools and strategies. So I'm not just going to be parroting some stuff out of psychology textbooks that I've read. I'm going to be taking you some things that are tried and tested and that I've worked through too in the last few years. All right, so what to expect from today. Before we kick off, I'll just ask if you've got your activity sheets. They should have been emailed through as PDFs and look a little bit like this. So there's 3 sheets, and we're not going to completely fill them through today. Some of them will be good for you to hold on to, maybe work through in your own time, but I will be calling to them on occasion and helping you out to work through some of the stuff too. Alrighty, let me just check on here. Oh, there we go. So Luke has, good that I checked this. Luke has actually chucked you the Dropbox there in case you're like, what worksheets? I don't have any worksheets. Go and just jump into the web chat there and click the Dropbox link. Cheers, Luke. Legend. Onto it. Okay, so what we're going to look at today is we're going to have an introduction to thoughts and their relationships to our feelings and behaviors. And we're going to use a little bit of mindfulness, and I'm going to talk you through a little strategy that we're going to do together in this workshop as well to help you recognize your thoughts. A few cognitive distortions, which I'll go into in detail, explaining what they are and help you spot how you might be sort of thinking in some unhelpful ways. And then I'll explore a couple of automatic thoughts in depression and anxiety. So we're not going to go full diagnosis mode today. A lot of this stuff that we're chatting about is to do with mental well-being. So, from all ends of the scale to, if you're experiencing severe depression to, if you just find yourself having some days where you're feeling a bit crappy about yourself, all these tips and tricks are going to be useful anywhere along that spectrum. And then we're going to get into some really practical work with thought challenging and how to introduce more flexibility and openness into your thinking. And then at the very end of the sesh, there's going to be a Q&A. So I would suggest if you do have any questions to maybe write them down or write them on your phone. I might answer them as we go. So then we'll have a little slide at the end